So who are the people who think that the Apollo moon landings were fake? The other day I was wondering which age group was most likely and which one was least likely to believe that Apollo astronauts landed on the moon. And the answer makes perfect sense. As it turns out, those in the under 35 age group are almost 4 times as likely to believe that the Apollo astronauts did not land on the moon as those my age, 65 and over. Even those only slightly younger than me are almost twice as likely to believe that there was not a moon landing in 1969. And that makes perfect sense because I realize why that is. The moon landing is no longer a living memory for the vast majority of humanity. Only 1 out of 5 people alive on Earth today were alive when the Apollo missions took place, and only about 1 in 7 were old enough at the time to remember. When the Apollo missions happened, this wasn't just a news story. This was everything. This is all we talked about on the school playground, at work, on the news. We watched the test flights. We watched the liftoff. We watched them go into orbit. We followed the moon landing, and we watched Neil Armstrong step off the LEM onto the lunar surface.
It's one small step for man.
Even the Soviet Union, who really wanted to win the space race, was watching. If anybody had a good reason to call bullshit on the whole thing, it was the Soviet Union. For us, this wasn't just a news story. It was our lives in 1969. On the playgrounds, it was all, okay, I get to be Neil Armstrong, you get to be Buzz Aldrin, and you get to be Michael Collins stuck up in the service module orbiting the moon. Ah, no fair. I was Michael Collins last time. And almost nobody at the time thought that the moon landings were faked. And by the way, there were 6 of them. But with all the engineers and contractors that would have to be silenced, it would be much easier to just go to the moon than to try to fake it 6 times. So in order for me to believe that the moon landings were faked, not only would I have to ignore everything I know about science and engineering and how bureaucracies work, I'd also have to ignore my lying eyes. What it comes down to is that for the vast majority of humanity, the Apollo missions are a historical memory and not a personal memory. Seeing is believing.